So I'm going to run down my list of who is logged in, and if there's anybody else, somebody shout at me, okay? I have Stacy, Sherry, me, Corey, Lisa Kent, Phil, Kay Kelleher, Geraldine, Melissa, Susan Smith, Nancy Booten, Aaron. Did I miss anyone?
I think we're ready to roll. Are you ready to
All
roll,
right.
Phil?
I'm ready to roll. Thanks for
Okay.
your patience, and can everybody hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what you should see on your screen is the agenda. Apologies that I had a burp and sent you the February packet again. I just one of those things, but hopefully you have the March 7th packet in front of you. We don't have as much decision making to do this month, and so we'll jump right into it. And I'll turn it back to Stacy to
Great.
start with the summary, etc.
Yep. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're looking at the February 8th summary of the subcommittee meeting. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review it. We did a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff last month. So if there are no changes or modifications, I would welcome a motion for approval.
This is Geraldine. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Geraldine. Do I have a second? Mel, it's seconded. Okay, any discussion?
Please? Oh, Mel, okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Mel, seconded in the chat. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll move on to the financial reports. First is the accounts receivable update. Lisa, do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. Going from top to bottom. Phil, do you want to jump in?
No, you go right ahead.
Okay, I'm going from top to bottom. Simplifile. I finally reached someone and explained everything that had happened, and they have agreed that they will be sending us the payment for this. So that makes me happy. Potawatomi, that was a credit card refund that was done last week at the end of the week, and an invoice was sent to Andrew earlier this week by Kay. The Iowa County Recorders Association, we received that check this week and we'll probably get that deposited today. Kay's listening in. It's laying on my back desk and I should have put it on your desk. Victor, I talked to Clint yesterday. He's our contact there, and have email confirmation from them that a check will go in the mail today. And Curtis Etzel, this is one that was part of the Lynn County ORV, I'm thinking of the wrong thing, but where they can do online renewals of ATVs and ORVs.
Right.
And he disputed the charge, so it's a charge back, and so we have an invoice out to him, and we need to follow up with him to get that $21 collected.
Great. Any questions for Lisa?
I would just add two comments, if you'll permit me. One is that one of the things I think Lisa's going to talk about at the upcoming conference is just a reminder that recorders should not use the terminals to do refunds, that the way the system is set up, once a transaction happens, we do collect the money and it gets distributed back to the county. So it just complicates things if the terminal is used to do the refund when the county is the one that has the money. We don't. So that what we were hoping to do is when we make the transition to the new point of sale system, we're going to do our best to try and get that program so you just can't do a refund at all. It's not even an option to sort of enforce that rule. And then I would just comment, it doesn't happen that often, but people do forget that they made a transaction, or they'll say, well, what is that? I'm not paying for that. And they'll call the credit card company, and then it goes into a dispute. And that just happens. And then what we do ordinarily is communicate with the customer and the card company. No, here's the evidence. We have the the receipt that he or she actually received the service, and usually we can get that stuff worked out. So, nothing out of the ordinary from my perspective.
This is Nancy. Can I ask a question about that, though, that Kirk Etzel, are you speaking with him individually? Lisa, is that who you say you contact him individually?
We do. We do connect with him and say, hey, this is Lisa. I'm calling from Iowa Land Records. On this date, you conducted a transaction with Lynn County for online renewal of your ATV, and there was a charge of $21.12, and you disputed that probably because you didn't recognize who the charge was from on your
Right.
card. And,
Okay.
and so it was charged back to our account, and we just need you to.
And the way
us.
the way it appears on from the customer point of view, in the case of the Lynn County system, is it appears as ESS Pay. That's what shows up on the receipt. Not recognizable, but we didn't want to make it sound like it was Iowa Land Records either. So that was the title that we came up with. So
I
and
guess
and the website that we have is esspay.net. That is the domain that the service is operating under. Nancy?
Okay, my concern is that we shouldn't be having to collect stuff. If this is for Lynn County, I guess my thought was, why isn't Lynn County handling or paying you and then getting their money from them? But, you know, I mean, what if it had to go to collections?
Yeah,
You know.
well, there are some risks associated with that. That's why we have a 3% surcharge on the system. It doesn't happen that often, and it's our payment system. It's not Lynn County's payment system. So, I'm sure that we would work it out with Lynn County if we needed to. But the ordinary course of business is to communicate with actually both the customer as well as with the card company to let them know, hey, we're not agreeing with the dispute, and here's the evidence, and you just have to do that sometimes.
Yeah, as long as it wasn't money that's
Yeah.
going to Lynn. Did Lynn County get this money?
No.
And now you're like, that's what I'm clearing up.
Yeah, no.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Nancy, honestly, if he had looked at his statement, not recognized it, I'm fairly confident our phone number is displayed there. If he had called there, we could have clarified him
Yeah.
to him what it was. I mean, that happens. You say, okay, what's it for? It happens with your over-the-counter credit card charges too. Somebody will call and say, I have this charge and it says this. And you say, okay, what county are you in? Okay, did you go to the recorder's office and record a document, get a hunting license, renew your boat, record documents, any of those things? And they go, oh yeah, thank you so much. Next.
My only concern was if Lynn County's getting that money, we shouldn't
Yeah.
be, paying Lynn County.
But
So,
I would agree with that. But that's just not the way the credit card system works in this case. And the other thing, I'm looking at the chat pod, looking at Melissa's question. If for whatever reason, our efforts to in a friendly manner communicate with the customer and the card member, if that didn't work, then we would be going back to Lynn County and say, hey, you may have issued a license or whatever it is, this guy, but he refused payment. You should be aware of that. And then they would, handle it from there.
and that's where I was going. I don't
Yeah.
think it's something that
Right.
Iowa Land Records should have to deal with.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. It's, you might say, Iowa Land Records has nothing to do. Why would we do it? Well, ESS is the entity, and we agreed to enter into an agreement to provide payment services to them for an exchange of value. And so we just do have to accept a certain amount of responsibility to follow up when these things happen. Fortunately, it doesn't happen that often. We've done hundreds of transactions with Lynn County customers over the year. I think, as I recall, this is like the second time it's happened. So generally, it's working well.
And Mel has a question too. So Lynn County did get their money, I would suspect, because it's so fast. And now he's disputing it. So that's,
Yeah.
and Lisa's taking care of it now.
Yes,
To get
right.
in contact.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Great.
hope that helps. hey, this is why we're transparent, right? We explain
right.
what happens and why, right? So
That's
there you
right.
are.
Okay, let's move on to the March summary of ESS payments.
Okay.
For approval.
Thank you very much. So let me try and get through most of this. I'm going to move a few things around on my screen so I can show it to you more easily. But what you have displayed are this is the accounts payable table. These are the use of the banker's trust system to make payment. We don't actually write checks. There are a few things that felt needed to be highlighted this month other than the usual. One is this is the first bill that we've received from Iowa Solutions. And you're going to see we just received actually the next full bill for their IT support for office devices. And we're within the range of the expected procedure. The only thing we haven't been billed for yet is the onboarding cost. So at some point, I'm expecting a larger bill for that initial effort of the transition, but this is the first small bill that you're going to see, and this is how it's going to appear on the accounts payable table as we go forward. Then moving down to the bottom, where if you look in the name column, you'll see a transaction for data. DAIDA. DAIDA purchased Image Tech. And almost all counties have migrated away from that. Almost everybody has consolidated their imaging service with their land record management system service, which is perfectly fine. We think it's a good thing. But there are 3 counties that still have stuck with data, the successor to Image Tech. We did not make their maintenance payments as per the usual schedule back in July, August, September, because we weren't sure these 3 counties were in fact going to stay with them. So if they were only going to be with them part of the year, we weren't going to pay them a full maintenance fee. Well, we're well into the fiscal year now, and all 3 of these counties are staying with data, or at least they will through June 30th. And it's justifiable that we make payment for those maintenance services under the agreement. So it's delayed. We delayed it intentionally because we weren't sure what the status was going to be. Now we are sure, and everything's good with data. We've been in communication with them. We actually reminded them that they needed to send us an invoice, and so we're making payment for that. That might be more explanation than was necessary, but that is it. Then the other thing that is noteworthy is our annual maintenance fee for the Prism Doc software. This is the image viewer that we use in the e-submission service. And this did come up for payment this year. The plan has been to pay for this out of the reserve funds this year, and that is what we're going to do. But this is a bill that you don't usually see, and it's substantive enough that we wanted to be sure to report on it. And then a few things to highlight in the credit card report. There are some expenses associated with registration for the PREA conference, which I'm participating in now, and then Lisa is participating in it virtually. You'll see some bills that you don't usually see for a company called Sectigo. Sectigo is a provider of digital certificates. It's kind of the thing you do when you have HTTPS, secure socket layer technology, used in your site. We have switched services from DigiCert to Sectigo, not because we were dissatisfied with DigiCert. There are some enhanced features with DigiCert, but we just needed the basic certificate right now. And this is one of the areas where we look for cost savings in the budget. So by switching from DigiCert to Sectigo, we went from a $5,000 annual expense to a $600 annual expense. So we did save some money there. if we were ever in a position to have more resources, I still might want to go back to DigiCert, even though it's more expensive, because there are some enhanced security features that they offer that I'm not saying we're not secure, we are, but there are things like images that show up in your website that show that you have a digital certificate. Right now, the only thing you see when you go to Iowa Land Records is the prefix that says HTTPS. So anyway, I thought that deserves some explanation. And then JetBrains is software that our developers use for their development. I'm not sure exactly why it got split into two pieces, but it shows up two places. I think we got two separate invoices, but I did want to highlight that because it's not a typical monthly expense. I will highlight it though as an example of we actually reduced our number of licenses for that to save some money this year. So not a huge savings, but it did save us about a fourth of what the cost would have been. And this is just an example of that. I'd be happy to answer any questions about any of the payments for the month of February, and I would request your acceptance and approval of that report.
Does anyone have any questions? For Phil? Thanks for explaining that data one. I had that written down to ask about, but you explained it well.
I'll
If
move
not,
to approve.
is this Nancy?
Sherry.
Sherry.
Oh,
Move to
Sherry, I'm
approve.
sorry. I can't
It's
see you.
okay.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Looks like we've got some in the chat pod. Geraldine, Mel, and Kelly, aye. Welcome, Kelly. Opposed, no.
Thank you.
Motion carries. We'll go ahead and move on to the March Fund 255 information.
Okay, so what is in front of you is this is actually the reimbursement invoice that we send to the state treasurer's office. As we explained in a prior meeting, what we're currently doing is matching the reimbursement amount with the amount of income that was received in Fund 255 through the state treasurer's office. So we are associating it with the payroll, but obviously our payroll is higher than that. So we're just kind of wanting to stay in our lane and make sure that we're preserving the minimum funds in Fund 255, but using it as a source of income. And the associated payroll invoices are attached to it just for reference. So basically, payroll was $56,000 and change, but the reimbursement invoice is $39,000 because that's all the income that we received in the prior month. I would request your approval of that invoice.
Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Geraldine. I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Geraldine. Do I have a second?
I can second. This is Sherry.
Sherry, thanks, Sherry. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Mel and Kelly in the chat pod. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, everybody. We'll move on to the January 2024 financial reports.
Okay, well, here we are at the beginning of the fiscal year, calendar year and fiscal year 2024. This is for the month of January. What I'm displaying now is a banker's trust statement. We had an ending balance of $1,292,658. I'm going to skip ahead to the reconciliation report. So we did reconcile the drawdown account, and then the amount reconciled of through transactions in the reconciliation did match. So everything's working there as it should. The P&L statement, looking just at budget to start with, we had budgeted income of $122,423, and we had budgeted expenditures of $100,781. So I think primarily on the expense side, we're definitely staying on track with the budgeted the budget this year. So then looking just at the overall fund, we had revolving income of $2,506,000 and total income of $2,629,000. And then looking at the bottom line, we had revolving expenses of $2,516,000 and total expenses of $2,616,000 for a total net income of $12,390. So for the month of January, we are on track with the budget as amended, and then I'm moving on to the balance sheet with total assets and liabilities of $2,444,000 and change. And within the Bankers Trust settlement account, $1,657,000. And I would just remind everybody that because we are on an accrual basis, this is always going to look higher than the actual amount in the bank account. So, we pay equal attention to both what the accrual balance sheet looks like, but also what our cash on hand is in the bank because of cash flow requirements. Then looking ahead to the credit card statement, we had a beginning balance of $3,687.75, an ending balance of $7,294.23. We have looked at the specific transactions in the previous period, so there's nothing really new to report there. And the account has been reconciled successfully. And then moving on to Fund 255, we had a beginning balance of, and this again is for the month of January, $220,455, an ending balance of $156,737. And you can see that the income matches the amount that we included in the reimbursement invoice. And the reconciliation was completed. And because of the payment schedule of the treasurer's office, it looks like we're really on a spending spree, but it's just because they paid two bills at the same time, and that's why it looks like we have negative net income, but it really isn't like that. We should be right on track, and I think that will show up in subsequent reports, and our balance sheet shows that balance as well. I'll take a deep breath and say, are there any questions about the financial reports?
Any questions for Phil? Oh, we've got. Make sure ICRA, Mel has a question, Phil, in the chat. Do you want me to?
Sure, I can address that. Well, what you actually saw in the financial report was $4,500, and initially I had issued an invoice to the association in the amount of $4,600 and change, and that was just an error on my part. I was looking at a balance sheet or kind of a budget estimate that I put together, and had forgotten that we had actually negotiated with a different fixed amount in the actual MOU. So the initial invoice was amended to the flat $4,500 level. So we should be good there, I believe, and that the budget. The finance budget does reflect that as well. So there shouldn't really be any discrepancy going forward. As we get through the session, we're in that $4,500 a month range because Census is spending a lot of time at the Capitol right now on behalf of the association. As we get into later in the spring and into the summer, and fall, that amount per month is going to go down just because she won't be spending as many hours at the Capitol building, and she'll be doing some other stuff. So, yeah. So hopefully that explanation is enough. I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Thanks, Mal. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, if not, I will take a motion for approval for the January 2024 reports we went over. I'll go ahead and make a motion. Do I have a second?
This is Geraldine, I'll second.
Thanks, Geraldine. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Mel and Kelly in the chat pod. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll move on to metrics.
Well, I just want to just give you a quick update that, looking at the February e-submission numbers, we were up over last year, which is a very good place to be. We would like to see it continue to go up. Anecdotally, Lisa started reporting that she's seeing things a little bit on the uptick, which would be really good news. So we'll continue to monitor that. But January and February are not the highest months of the year. That's just the way it is. And so we'll hope the economy continues to improve. So that, I think, takes care of all of the action items. I'm going to just go back up to the agenda and a couple housekeeping and some general reports. First of all, you might have done this already because I came on just at the last minute, but I do want to welcome Susan Smith to the subcommittee. Susan, thank you. There is a great tradition here of the Finance Committee asking every possible question that you might want to ask, and I want you to feel free to do that. If you would like to have a conversation afterwards sometime, and kind of do an onboarding about All Matters Financial, would be happy to do that for you. So, but I do want to welcome you to the subcommittee. Then, in terms of general updates, we are in the midst of preparing for the audit. We have received our homework assignments from Denman, and so we are going to be working on that for Melissa and also to the officers of the association. The work on the 990 return for the association will also be taking place. And you might, if it hasn't happened already, you might be prepared to, provide the financial reports for calendar year 2023. As I understand it, we're probably going to have to have the association do a full 990 return, not only for this year, but possibly for next year, just because part of the returns look back to the prior years, right? And so even though activity related to ILR in ESS has fallen off the table, they're sort of still officially on the books that people are going to look at. Once that washes out, then the association will be able to kind of dial back to a lower level of a 990 return that is less complicated. Because you're having to do a 990 return for only the reason that you have been associated with ESS, we are taking care of the expense of getting the 990 return. So we'll make sure that is handled, but it's probably going to be Denman communicating with association officers on the details of that. Then another thing I need to report, I'm really sorry to report. I hope I'm not stepping on any toes and reporting this. Sorry, Kay, but I am going to report to you that Kay has accepted another position, and we're going to be in search of a new accountant and or other services to take care of that. So she'll be with us for another couple of weeks, and then we'll be working to try and finish some homework up for the audit before she departs. But then we'll probably have to make some internal changes about how we're doing things. And for the short time, it looks like Lisa and I are going to be putting our green eyeshades on for a little while until we find the next person. So I'm sorry to see Kay depart, but opportunities come, and that's just the way the world turns, and we'll figure it out. Then stepping down to the last main bullet point in terms of the financial and strategic review, we talked about the metrics already. I feel pretty good about where we are at with the budget right now, with the changes that we made, and hopefully with some optimism coming back into the economy, we're looking forward to having a better year than 2023 this year. We'll just have to see how it plays out. As far as system changes are concerned, I want you to be aware of that. We are about ready to make the big change over to the cloud. In fact, as soon as we're done with this meeting, I'm going to send a general message out to our user base to let them know that we're going to have some downtime maintenance in the afternoon of Friday and possibly into Saturday. I think Lisa has already sent a message out to all the recorders on that, but that is happening, and that's a big deal. Kelly and our development team and Lisa and I are going to be sort of on standby alert that afternoon just to make sure everything is working, but we're going to try and give the appropriate notice to let people know what is going on. Then with respect to the point of sale system transition, as you know, the ESS committee did approve in February the agreement with Professional Solutions, also known as NCMIC, and we are proceeding with plans to implement that. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a trial run with a terminal device here in our office. We'll be doing some testing to make sure that the reports are configured correctly, and then we'll start bringing in a small group of counties. So we're not going to try and transition everybody at the same time. It's perfectly acceptable to operate two systems, but obviously not forever. So we're going to use this as a transition plan. I don't know that we've selected the first 2 or 3 counties yet, but we're going to be doing that soon. And I would anticipate that that transition process could continue from March, maybe even into May. Hopefully it goes well. I definitely want to have it completed by the end of June. So that's where we're at with that. We're excited to make the change. We think that NCMIC is going to do a good job for us and maybe provide us with a little better and more timely customer service. And the cost is going to be about the same or less. So we're looking forward to making that change. And then last but not least, yes,
I'm jumping in on POS.
Okay.
So a couple things. One, we'll talk more about this at ISAC next week. And then after ISAC, we'll send a survey to all counties that says, who are you? Where's your shipping address? All that information that we need together for Professional Solutions to get devices out to you. And not to worry, but the same receipt tape should work because I know that's going to be a question. So more to come. Thanks.
Hey, Lisa and Phil, I've got a quick question. Do all counties offer credit cards?
I believe we have about, I think we're at 94 counties that do. Polk County has their own system.
Okay.
And so the other 4 counties we'll be talking to and asking them, hey, do you want to jump on board? This is a really good time to do it. And if they don't, that's certainly their decision. But we all know how widely used it is. I mean, I never carry cash and barely carry a checkbook anymore.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
I think I appreciate Lisa's point that we are going to be talking a little bit about this at the upcoming conference to make sure everybody knows what's going on. But I'm looking forward to the switch. So we just have to go through the process. And what each county is going to have to do is we're going to be doing, as Lisa mentioned, we're going to be doing a survey and to gather information that NCMIC needs just for the merchant agreement changes. And there's just some information they need that we can't necessarily provide in our office. And that's the reason that we're doing that. So it's a process. We'll make it work.
Like Aaron has a question about the credit card. Well, the POS have the ability to accept tap, and Sherry just responded, and yes, it has tapping capabilities. So awesome. Thanks, Sherry.
Yes,
Go
it
ahead.
does.
Thank you.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And as I mentioned earlier, we should be able to, we think we're going to be able to program it so that you can do voids, but not do refunds. And then let's see. Yeah, I think it's unknown yet what the disposition of the existing terminals are going to be. I don't think you're going to have to return them. Maybe they should be recycled. We don't really know what the answer to that is yet. So stay tuned for further information. Okay, then the last thing I just want to report on briefly is that the modernization review is underway. We have been having very healthy discussions within the standards subcommittee and the document formatting working group. The modernization ideas that we have shared with you over the last number of months. We're beginning to have conversations with the various stakeholder organizations, and you know, they're all busy with the legislative session and their own priorities right now. But those conversations, I think, will continue. And I think basically what we're doing at this point is testing to see what are they interested in, what would they like to see us do, do they want us to continue to improve, and would they like to take advantage of some of the features that we are working on. Nancy has been, along with Sue Meyer and Jane, have been participating in the working group with the surveyors. And I think that's been a very healthy discussion. Sherry, yes, so thank you. Sorry about that, Sherry. And, you know, I think we're working on possible changes to the index legend right now, but there are other topics that are going to be coming up. And we've been meeting with them on a bi-weekly basis. I would anticipate at least one of the other stakeholder groups, maybe two, who might be interested in setting up a joint subcommittee as well. So we're going to just see how this conversation goes. And I think that will be a great opportunity to get Nancy and Stacy and Megan and other recorders sort of more directly involved in some of the conversations that we've been having. I defer to those on the call who've been doing the surveyors discussions, but I'm really jazzed up about that. Those are good discussions. Sherry and Nancy, what do you think?
The surveyors seem excited, and actually I feel like we're all kind of on the same page. Sorry, windows open, boiler going, garbage truck behind me, if you can hear that. But anyway, it sounds like we are really on the same page with our forward thinking. That's how I feel, you know, and they're on board with keeping things the same, whether it's electronic or physical.
Amen.
You
Yeah, I
know,
think we're getting things clarified as to
Yeah.
what they want, and so that we come to an agreement, but I think it's going good.
I think you should. I've been invited to participate. I'm flying back this evening, and I'm going to be. Lisa and I are going to be at the surveyors conference tomorrow morning to share some of these same ideas with them, and kind of delivering some message of hey, you know, if you want information to be indexed, you have to include it in the document, right? And so we'll be delivering that message tomorrow as well. So I'm looking forward to presenting to that group. But our history with the surveyors has been really good, and that's continuing. So I'm very encouraged by that. The last update I want to share with you that kind of is relevant to the Finance Committee, very much so, is that we're finishing up the survey that we did with the recorders about the total income in 2023. And that'll be one of the last pieces that we need to do the modeling. So we're going to begin. I am beginning the process of assembling the different models using different assumptions about, well, how much money would be generated under different scenarios of recording fees. You know, if we doubled it from $5 to $10, what would the effect of that be? And so I think by the time we get to the April meeting, and certainly some of it might be ready later this month, we're going to actually be in a position to start talking about some options, not just sort of theoretical, but okay, here's how the math works if we do A, B, or C. And then, you know, after we do some of that modeling, the next thing that comes after that is we got all these ideas out there. You know, at some point we have to say, okay, how much do we think they're going to cost, and how does that have to play into this? So I'm encouraged that we're going to be in a position to start that discussion on the financials. And my general assessment is, in terms of the overall plan and trying to be ready in June and July to bring things together into a recommendation, I think we're basically on schedule to do that at this point. That's my update. Happy to answer any questions. I see there are comments in the chat pod. Let's see.
I think Lisa took care of Mal. I think we're good.
Okay. Any last questions then?
Looks like
for this
Mel has one more question about the update Friday. Can you tell me if the notice sent to her was sent to all ESUB acceptance staff or just recorders? Also, has a notice been sent to all ESUB users about the 3 o'clock ending date on Friday?
I'll answer the second part, and that is I will be sending out, since Kristen's off today, I will be sending out a MailChimp message to all users about Friday. I defer to Lisa on who was on the recipient list to the recorders.
It went to every recorder deputy clerk that we have using e-submission. So I do defer to all of you to make sure that you give a heads up to the people in your office. Hey, don't forget 3 o'clock, maybe set a reminder on your computers at 2:30 tomorrow, stop processing, something like that, just to make sure everything gets through. We don't want anything hanging out there.
Okay, great.
And I actually, in terms of the message I'm sending to the user groups, it's going to actually be saying 2:30. So we're asking them to try and finish it up a little bit before that, before the 3 o'clock deadline.
Great.
I would almost suggest 2 to give that extra 60 minutes of making sure. But that's just
Yep.
me. I'm a lean
So
to the.
So you're okay with the schedule we were planning, or I'm just clarifying? Are you okay with what we're planning to do, Sherry, timing wise?
I was gonna, on my end, I was gonna say 2 o'clock, just if anybody asked me, just that gives me an extra
Okay,
hour, but I'm
yeah.
also short-staffed tomorrow, so that was gonna give me extra time to get my ESUBs taken care of.
Okay. Well, it wouldn't be hard for me to change it to 2 as a general message. It's only 30 minutes more.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to do that. For you, Sherry, I will do that.
Thanks, Phil. I
Just for
appreciate that.
You betcha.
I'm going to point out that despite how efficient all of you are, policy says you have 24 hours to, or 1 full business day to process documents. So if it comes in at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, theoretically, you have till 10 o'clock on Monday morning. So remember that. Also, Kelly Spees, we're happy you're back up and running today.
Yeah.
Great.
And I think what we're really talking about here is if there's something in process, like, you know, you've received it and you're processing it, we want to see all that finish up. If you still have things that are ready for recorder status, they're still gonna be there on Monday, okay? I mean, so nothing bad's gonna happen with that. So I think we're in good shape. I think we're, from a staff perspective, we're just wanting to make sure this is a huge change, okay? We're moving the whole system here. And, you know, you can't always predict, you know, everything that's gonna happen. We think we have everything in order, but we're preparing to making adjustments. And, you know, Kelly's has advised, you know, this should take 10 minutes. Okay. Best case scenario, it takes 10 minutes. But what if it doesn't work? You know, we have to roll it back and then try to make an adjustment. And we don't want people coming in and out of the submission, especially in the afternoon. So we're just kind of saying, okay, now we're going to say 2 p.m. And, you know, we're going to be in a maintenance window until Saturday. It could be 10 minutes, but we're just trying to be somewhat cautious about it. All right, everybody. Thank you. I
Thank
see
you,
a few more
everybody.
messages in the chat pod. Okay. Great. Okay. I don't see any more questions.
Oh.
So there you go.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Have a
Have a
good
good rest
day,
of your
everybody.
day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Wildest
Bye, thanks.
Bye.
Sorry.